Forget what you learned in school. Never mind what your parents told you, and disregard what your friends say. From now on, the only people you need to listen to are these guys. For the next several minutes, they'll take you on a journey through the political jungle. And when your journey is over and you're safe at home, they promise you'll be stronger, smarter, and just plain better. So buckle up, hang on to your ears, because your journey starts now.
How you doing, Brian?
Pretty good, Nate. How are you?
Not too bad today.
We want to welcome everyone to another episode of At Odds, where today we're in the Banana and Plums pub and studio in a small eastern village. In what country, Nate?
Kenya today.
Kenya.
We are in Kenya.
So, weather's a lot nicer here than it is in Michigan.
Yeah, it's pretty cold back in Michigan. Snowing and ice everywhere.
Yeah, it's nice here.
It's spring tomorrow.
It is.
So that's good. It's going to be 20 degrees and
25
snowing.
degrees and snowing. So,
yeah.
Typical Michigan spring. Well, I just want to say that today we'll get right into it because we have a great topic. We'll be discussing oil and gas fracking with Dr. Walter Brasch in just a few moments. So stay tuned. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow we're having a Second Amendment march and rally in Lansing at the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan. The event starts at 10 o'clock and goes till 2 o'clock. Great speakers, great entertainment. Rain, shine, or snow, and it looks like snow and 25 degrees.
Oh, I was going to say, forget everything we said about the weather. It's going to be beautiful, so you should get your butt out there.
Yeah, you should go to the rally. We will have a warming tent, and you can go into the Capitol and take a tour and warm up and get some coffee and hot chocolate. So it's all good. But let's get to our guest, Dr. Walter Brasch, Ph.D., is an award-winning former newspaper reporter and the author of a weekly syndicated newspaper column called Wanderings. Dr. Brasch is an emeritus professor of mass communications and journalism, and he received his Ph.D. in mass communication and journalism from the Ohio University, a Mac conference school. I know it well. I got a couple of degrees from Mac schools. He is a social activist and has developed expertise in free expression and freedom of information. He is the executive vice president of the Northeast Pennsylvania Homeless Alliance and vice president of Central Susquehanna chapter of the ACLU. He is the author of many magazines, articles, several multimedia productions, and the author of 17 books, most of them focusing upon the fusion of historical and contemporary social issues. Today we'll talk about his latest book, Fracking Pennsylvania, Flirting with Disaster, which is available in many independent bookstores, online, and from his website. To learn more, you can check his website out at www.walterbrasch.com. Welcome to At Odds, Dr. Brasch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So, you have a book on fracking. You might as well sort of just give us a brief description of what that is.
Well, fracking is a short name for horizontal fracturing. And it's basically a process that takes up to about 9 million gallons of water, 100,000 to 200,000 gallons of chemicals, most of them toxic, and what we call proppants, which are sand or silica sand. You put it all together and you push it down at tremendous force into the earth. It fractures the rock and the shale to extract natural gas or oil. Mostly it's been used for natural gas. And it differs from normal fracking, which is very vertical. The horizontal part is it goes down maybe a mile, and then it takes a right angle for maybe another mile. And some of these go down maybe almost 2 miles, but they do take a right angle to go through the shale, which is not very deep beneath the earth. I mean, as far as height goes. Some are only a few hundred feet. And it extracts the natural gas.
So, what are what you're saying is they can drill. It depends on the geology, of course, and where they are in the country. Typically, they can go anywhere from a couple thousand feet down to 5 or 10,000 feet, depending on the formation. But what you're saying is that the shale formations can vary in thickness from 20, 30, 50 feet to several hundred feet.
Yeah, basically.
And they're trying.
And up until they got the horizontal part worked out, which is only maybe a few years ago, less than a decade, it made it very uneconomical to set up dozens of wells and drill straight down. Now with the horizontal drilling, it's more economical, so that's why we're seeing a lot more of that in the last few years. And in fact, I did a large Google search for my book of pre-fracking incidents in the media, and before 2008, there was hardly any mention at all of fracking.
Yeah, but they've been doing fracking for 70 years, maybe, or so. And,
yeah, since the late 40s.
Yeah, so fracking's been around a long time, and horizontal drilling's been around for a long time. But now what they're trying to do, the difference is I think they're going into these thinner shale layers to extract the natural resource. So what are the benefits of fracking? I mean, there's got to be some benefits.
Yeah, the benefits are that they're getting more gas out. And theoretically, the idea is that because gas is a cleaner energy than oil or coal, that by getting the gas out, we're saving energy. Although it does have a fairly large carbon footprint, it theoretically reduces our dependency upon foreign oil. But it's really a bridge fuel. The industry claims it's going to be available for like 100 years, but most of the geologists that I've talked to for this book kind of disregard that they believe that if they continue to drill the way they have been, we're going to be maybe 20 years from now at the most, we're going to see that it's no longer economical to be drilling for the gas because they're going after everything right now. And so that's why natural gas is so cheap right now, is that they have overproduced it. And the free market has become the issue of they kept drilling and they've overproduced, so the price had to go down. So now they're going to have to do something to try to get the price back up to avoid the problems that were created that were very similar to the housing bubble. Wall Street has invested heavily into the industry. The industry is heavily mortgaged out or leveraged debt, and we're starting to see problems.
Yeah, well, the housing bubble was a bit different in that we had the federal government involved, where they were forcing banks to underwrite loans that weren't good loans and to people that couldn't pay them back. But something that you did mention was the free market moving to natural gas and things. Wasn't there something about the pretty heavy restrictions that we have on coal fire plants, and how expensive it is to convert them to clean coal plants, that really it can be cheaper to just shut it down and start drilling and use natural gas for things like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of regulations now on coal, but I keep getting press releases about once a month from the coal industry about clean coal and what they're doing to clean it up and make it more prevalent. And as it is across the world, coal is still the number one energy source. And their predictions, which I think are fairly accurate, show that even 20 years from now, coal will still be the number one source of energy.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of coal in the world, and particularly in North America. So it's a natural resource that there's plenty of.
Yeah. Also, the bituminous coal does not burn as clean as the anthracite coal.
Right.
And I happen to live in an area that's the primary center of anthracite coal. So the people out in this area in Pennsylvania, basically Pennsylvania is the anthracite.
Yeah.
That's still being mined and produced, and they're working on some clean coal types of technologies. West Virginia has the bituminous coal, which tends to burn a little bit dirtier.
More sulfur and stuff in it, yeah. Well, what are the risks of horizontal fracking? Oh, the risk of
Okay.
horizontal
Just
fracking.
Pronouncing it is risky.
Yes, and traditional, vertical fracking. I mean, aren't they basically
the primary risks, as opposed to the vertical, because you've got such a huge amount of pressure going into the earth, it's fracturing a number of the shale deposits, especially the tectonic plates, say in California and some other places. And we're getting a number of earthquakes. Now, that we're not talking major earthquakes that shake the house and destroy furniture and glass and so forth, but we're getting 2 to 3.5 earthquakes because of that. That is changing and shaking up things because of the huge pressure going down. Also, because of the need to protect the tubes and the pipes, we have something called well casings, which is basically cement that is supposed to prevent any kind of blowouts or problems beneath the earth. But the latest statistics show about 6.5% of all the well casings, and we're talking thousands of wells at the moment, fail. So we're getting a huge number of failures. When it fails, all the chemicals going down fail. Now, just this past week in the area where I live, and this is being duplicated in many places, we had over 250,000 gallon spill in a well. Now it was fairly well contained, but we're talking 250,000 gallons that came up from the earth, bringing everything in the earth, plus all the chemicals that went down into the earth. And there was an evacuation of 7 families in the immediate area. They're still trying to figure out how much damage was caused. It varies between what the industry or the company says, and they were fairly strong on getting onto this. What the state DEP says, Department of Environmental Protection, and some of the ecologists who have been in the area. But we do know that there was some air pollution and some ground pollution released because of that.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the earthquakes, I thought the research was showing that primarily the earthquakes are caused by deep well injections, and what that does is puts fluids into fracture zones that were necessarily stable and acts like a lubricant, and you get some shifting along natural fault lines. So it wasn't so much from the fracking you're getting those small little earthquakes.
Yeah, yes. The fracking itself is causing some of it, but most of it is, as you said, the deep well injections, which is what the industry is trying to do to deal with the stuff that comes back up out of the ground, because you don't put in 9 million gallons of something and just leave it in the ground. So they extract that, and they have to do something with it. So they're putting it in the ponds, then they're putting it back into the earth, and they're transferring it over to sewer plants that can't handle the solids. There's some radioactive elements there. You're basically disturbing what's down there. The methane is being disturbed within the earth. If you didn't frack the earth, you still would have these problems, but they would not be noticeable. They would kind of, it's sort of like there's certain things like left by dogs that you don't disturb. This is the same thing.
Yeah. Well, my understanding of some of the operation with fracking is you're pumping a lot of sand. It's primarily water mixed with sand, and you've got a small amount, less than 1% of other chemicals that are being in there for corrosion protection and lubricant and stuff. The sand then goes down and fills those cracks that are being created by the pressure that keeps the cracks open so that oil and gases can be extracted. So most of that stuff stays down there. What gets circulated back out, of course, is the fluids, and generally those are contained, and I suspect it varies from state to state what those regulations are. In Michigan, our regulations are pretty stringent, and we don't have a problem. We've been fracking, I think we have 12,000 fracked wells that we've had over the last 60 years with almost no problem that I'm aware of. And primarily the problems we have are from older wells from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that were, vertical, that weren't properly abandoned and grouted out. So I think modern fracking now and oil drilling is getting better and better. The technology is getting better.
Yeah, the technology is actually brilliant on the companies that developed it. I talked to one of the engineers that had been on the development of that, and the concept is just brilliant piece of technology and engineering. It's the execution has become the problem, and as you said, Michigan has a fairly good record on this, but again, they haven't done horizontal fracking in Michigan until about 5-6 years ago. There's not a whole lot of heavy shale there.
Right.
That they can bring up the gas, but yeah, Michigan is one of the better places that have regulations. A number of the places, it's almost open season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Michigan standards are much tougher than even the national EPA and stuff like that. But I will say that, I mean, fracking just isn't used for shale. We do frack in Michigan, and it's used in sandstone and limestone formations for the same purpose. They want to break up the rock and create voids so that oil and gas migrates to those places that create and increases the porosity, and then it can be extracted. So we have fracked. We just haven't fracked in the shale. And the other thing I think, and I think you'll agree, is that the depth of where that shale is. I mean, fracking shouldn't be done everywhere. I agree with that.
You're absolutely right about that.
There should be certain geology parameters where fracking can be done relatively safely.
Yes. Part of the problem is that it's been almost a Old West, Wild West roundup around the country that, like the gold rush, is that it's very, very lucrative right now, and people are rushing into just about every kind of shale there is.
Right.
And we're starting to see the new Albany shale, for instance, in southern Illinois, that is just starting to develop now. That they found this shale and they figured out how to make it work. So all the landmen from the energy companies are now invading the southern part of Illinois.
Yeah, and I mean, we see North Dakota, the oil and gas, boom towns in North Dakota, and we are seeing that a bit in Pennsylvania and in places like that.
In New York.
The jobs benefits from fracking and the oil gas industry in general are just they're not hurting the economy. I know that much.
And
that's one of the arguments that the politicians love, is that when you have a fracking operation, it does improve the economy because you're paying better wages. Now, some of these workers, the truck drivers, and it takes a couple hundred trucks a day to a certain well, are working 12, 14, 15-hour days, sometimes 6-7 days a week. They're getting good money. There's more people in the area, so the restaurants are benefiting, the hotels are benefiting. But we're also seeing that apartment owners are raising the rents, 3 times what they are. And so at the end of a year or so, the lease of a current owner or a current renter, they're getting thrown out in order to make way for the new workers. So you're losing that kind of a situation. The truck drivers that move into the energy industry leave a void, and that means that it has to be filled. And we're finding that a number of trucking companies just don't have enough employees. And when the industry moves on, and they do in 2 to 5 years maximum, because it takes only about 105 days, according to the Department of Energy, to get about 2/3 of the natural gas from a fracked well. So they will move on. The truck drivers are still local. They're going to stay where they are. Now they're unemployed, and we're starting to see some unemployment coming back up.
Yeah, they may be, some of the jobs may be temporary, but I mean, it's definitely a great shot in the arm for the local economy, like you mentioned, the restaurants, the gas stations, the things like that. And as far as rent going up, I mean, that's obviously a sign of market demand, in the local economy coming up too. And once those leases are up and there aren't people in the area willing to pay that, the rent will go back down. And the market controls that sort of thing, and I think that's really how it should be. And I mean, that's the reason we're doing fracking anyway. Is it's economical. It's one of the best choices we have in this country now. I mean, other energies are great, but they're just not fully developed yet.
I think one of the things I'm seeing is in Lycoming County, Pennsylvania, which is one of the major areas for the fracking right now. And right now, the Marcellus Shale, the epicenter is right here in Pennsylvania, in the northern and western part of the state. A lot of homelessness is developing as people can no longer afford to live in the apartments. And I think that we're starting to see more homeless problems. And because I work with the homeless, I'm seeing more places that they can't go. For instance, the programs are just not enough in depth to handle the kind of demand that we're starting to see recently. And that's become a problem. It may level itself off, but the downside of all this is that we are getting problems of air pollution. We're getting more water pollution. We're getting methane migrating into the aquifers, and we've got so many cases of that. In the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, we have a huge new nonprofit medical center that's been developed solely to help the people who have lived in the land and the residents who are experiencing problems that could be related to the fracking problems.
Well, in relation to the methane, I mean, methane's naturally occurring. You can get it in deep shales, and you can get it around landfills, and you can get it around wetlands that are being buried where you have decomposition of organic matter
from cows.
Exactly.
So you can get methane in groundwater that isn't related to the fracking, and I'm just wondering how much of the methane may have been in their water and they never knew about it until fracking became the new buzzword and their water gets tested and, well, look, we have methane and it's coming from fracking, where in fact that may have been there before. Now, I read that some of these oil companies are testing people's water before they go in and start fracking to have a baseline, and I think that's a good idea.
That's a recent development.
Yeah. So I think that's a good idea.
And that is good, so that they know if there is methane there. As you say, in most wells, there's going to be a little bit of methane. Methane basically is not toxic as such. I mean, you can breathe it. It might cause some immediate discomfort, but it's not really that toxic. What it is it's flammable.
Right.
And so what we see is an awful lot of wells blowing up. Because the methane is being destroyed by the fracking process.
Well, I don't know if you're getting lots of wells. What's your numbers on that? I mean, we get homes once in a while that blow up in Michigan, but it usually is related in conjunction to an old landfill that was in the area, and the methane's coming from the garbage decomposing, gets into their basement.
Well, we've got a list that others have been developing called the List of the Harmed. And in Pennsylvania, it tracks the families that have specifically been harmed by the fracking process. And the list is up to about 850 by now. And these are not just like somebody says, well, you know what happened? This is actual incidents that have been investigated by the DEP or the EPA, and actually have been investigated and proven that there was some harm caused. And right now in Pennsylvania, it's up to about 850 or so.
How many wells do you have being fracked approximately in Pennsylvania now? Do you know?
Right now, we've a total of 12,000 permits, but wells have been fracked and then capped, and new ones are going on, but generally around 3,000 at any given time, 3,000 to 4,000.
Okay, 3,000 to 4,000 that are somewhat active or either starting or ending their process. Yeah. Well, I see that there's a company, I know it's put out by the oil industry, but at least they're getting a little bit open, because I remember early on the chemicals that were in some of the fracking procedures were kind of quiet, but there's frackfocus.org out there now where they're trying to collect different information on some of the compounds.
Focus is a database, but energy companies do not have, it's voluntary, they do not have to tell anybody what their composition is, so the fluids. And some of them have refused to divulge all of it. we know that, let's say that they're using 65 different chemicals. They can give 55 of those chemicals, and then we have to kind of guess the other 10.
Yeah.
They're called proprietary information.
Yeah, top secret.
And it takes a lot to try to dig it out of them to know if it's harmful or not to the environment or to people.
Well, sure. I mean, all industries have trade secrets and proprietary information. I mean, I work with that every day, you know, with information that we can't give to anybody because that's where we get our competitive edge. And obviously we're coming at this from different angles, but I mean, that's what it takes to be profitable and have a economically...
To be competitive.
To be competitive and cheap fuel. I mean,
right.
Our lifestyle in this country has a cost to it, you know, and I mean, one of them is apparently fracking wells now.
Well, that kind of leads into sort of my question for you then is, you're not opposed to all fracking, you just would like a little bit tighter regulations and... really what I want to see is a lot more regulation. For instance, in Pennsylvania, to go back to your proprietary information, written into the Pennsylvania law last year was that physicians could not even find out what was in the fluids if they had a patient they suspected of having an illness or a cancer caused by proximity to the fracking. And we've had a number of cases of workers throughout the country who have developed pancreatic cancer and some other cancers. But the physicians weren't even being allowed to be told. Then they changed that slightly and said, well, okay, they have to sign non-disclosure statements in order to find out. We'll tell them, but they have to not tell anybody, including the patient or a specialist. So let's say that you're a GP, you find out, you say, okay, this looks like a possibility. I need to refer you to a neurologist or a hematologist or somebody else. Yeah.
Then
they can't
the hematologist has to start figuring it out by himself without having previous information.
Or probably signing the non-disclosure and being informed.
Right.
I think is probably how it would work. I mean, everybody involved will have to sign a non-disclosure, and, you know, that is what it is, I guess.
And that's something they have to work through, I think, and hopefully that's getting better as well.
Yeah, things are changing because they've made so many blunders when they first started out that I think that they're starting to figure out that you just don't come in and arrogantly say, I'm giving you X amount of dollars for your land, and then we're going to do whatever we want to do to it. People are starting to protest and say, look, you know, this is our land, this is our environment. And I've talked to so many farmers who have been promised that the land would be restored after the lease runs out that have not seen that happen.
Yeah, that's I mean, that goes by state as well. I know in Michigan, the companies are held pretty tight to restoring the land back to grade and restoring it. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to say that people, this is a tough and interesting topic, and if they want to learn a little bit more about it, at least from the social and the citizen's point of view, I'd recommend Walter's book. And again, Fracking Pennsylvania, Flirting with Disaster. And you get it. You can order it on your site. I think Amazon probably has it. Some of the bookstores, at least in Pennsylvania, I'm sure have it, and I'm sure it can get ordered.
Yes, I really would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Amazon and the publishers Greeley and Stone, just like Horace Greeley, Greeley, and Stone.com. So they can order it online. They could go to their local bookstore. If the local bookstore does not have it, the store can get it within a week or so.
And they can order it right from your website as well, I think, right?
Right, and
Brasch.
what happens there is it just automatically goes to the publisher.
Oh.
So if they have trouble remembering the publisher, remember Walter Brasch. The last name is Brasch. WalterBrasch.com. They could order it there. Then it'll wind up like automatically through all the cyber stuff. I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Go to the publisher for the order.
Sure.
Yeah, Nate and I wrote a book, and we have the same issue. So.
Yep. Well, if you
okay.
if you can in about 30 seconds, Brian was so eager to get into this. I think we kind of skimmed over why you wrote the book and what, you know, what started you on this journey and all the research you did. I mean, you have hundreds of footnotes, so you obviously did some research when you wrote this book, but what got you started?
Really, the new act being developed in Pennsylvania that blocked physicians from finding out what was in the drilling fluids. At that time, I thought, I knew about fracking. I didn't know that much about it, but it really seemed that there was a public health issue here. And we didn't know at that time, is fracking good, is it bad? But I didn't like the idea of the government saying basically that physicians and healthcare professionals didn't have access to the information that they would need to treat their patients. Even if they did sign a non-disclosure clause, they couldn't get the information at the time. So that kind of got me started. Then I kept getting deeper and deeper into it and talking to more and more people on all sides, including gas field workers and drivers and farmers and geologists and environmentalists and just about everybody I could. And it just kind of spiraled from there.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. I think we've covered just about everything. Get the book. It's a good book. It gives you a lot of basic information. I don't know that I agree with all of it, but that's okay. It's certainly a good starting point, and it encourages you to go out and research for yourself as well. So it's a good starting point. And
that's one thing I strongly advocate is that people get all the facts that they can. Don't just trust what I say. Find out what everybody says.
Sure.
Yep, and like I say, you give a lot of data for people to go and check it out. So I want to thank you very much for being on the show, and good luck with your book and your other future adventures.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Red State Talk Radio.
The idea of government taking over healthcare is enough to make you sick.
The conservative voice.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and
agreed with a few things I said.
No matter what the behavior, defiance,
that's what I'm saying. He didn't
angry outbursts, disrespect.
Stick hard to what
we can help you
I
stop
thought he
it.
would.
Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available.
Since we're going to fill out another 20 minutes here, so I'm just going to throw stuff out at you.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about that last great American man and what they're doing to him. I sent you that. I sent you everything here, I think.
That's 1-800-257-2873.
Great shot, Bob. I think you're on.
I just followed your lead.
Hey, by the way, did you break ground on your new building?
No way. I'm holding off until I see what the future holds.
So you're seeing a fortune teller or
You
something?
know what I mean. Things look a little uncertain.
The only thing certain in business is if you're not growing, you're losing. And we just opened our 5th facility last week. If you're following my lead, you'll call General Steel. Their pre-engineered steel buildings could save you as much as half the cost compared to conventional buildings. And they're up in nearly half the time, and backed with a 50-year structural warranty.
Yeah, but steel buildings...
Hey, you've seen my building. Does it look like steel?
No, it looks great.
Ask about rebates that could save you up to $20,000. Look, you can stop paying rent and own a building that suits your business better and probably saves you money by operating more efficiently. In times like these, don't stop spending, just spend wisely.
800-398-8309, 800-398-8309, 800-398-8309, 800-398-8309.
Red State Talk Radio.
Why spend more than you have to on your life insurance? Did you know that term life insurance rates have fallen over 60% in the last 15 years? At the Life Insurance Quote Line, we monitor the rates, features, and financial strength of hundreds of life insurance products. For example, a healthy 40-year-old can protect his family with $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $20 a month. Rates for women are even lower. And don't forget to ask us about the new term life policies that guarantee your money back even if you don't die. Since 1986, we've helped tens of thousands of people just like you save a fortune on their life insurance. Why not find out how much you can save? Write down this number and call today for your free quote. 1 5-minute call is all it takes. Call 800-610-3497. 800-610-3497. That's 800-610-3497. 888-828-3497. Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.
Yeah, it was very much.
I should turn on my mic.
You should turn your microphone on.
Yeah,
Brian.
that'll help a lot.
Wow. Wow. Go ahead, start over. What was that?
I'd like to welcome you to At Odds. Oh, was it off the whole show?
It was off the entire time.
No, we'd like to thank Walter. Go out and get his book. But
WalterBrasch.com.
Yep. We're going to move on. I want to talk a little bit, Nate, about the 51-year-old man named Eustace Conway. I love that. The last great American man. Have you heard about that? He's lived out in the woods for 30 years on his 500-acre farm in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's come face to face with the ugly face of government.
Shocker.
Because the government wants to shut him down. Apparently, his outhouse isn't up to snuff, and he's not marking the lumber he cuts on his own property and uses on his own property to build buildings. He's not marking the lumber properly, so I don't know that he has to do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, they did like a 78-page report, and they either has to tear everything down and rebuild up to code, or kind of leave, I guess, whatever. And the problem is he has a summer kind of outdoor skills classes that he makes his bread and butter for the year. And he doesn't know if he's going to be able to hold those classes. They're going after him for all kinds of crap. This guy just wants to be left alone. He's not hurt anybody. 30 years. And here's the government intruding once again and still and continuously. It just drives me nuts. Now, I guess the state is now going to have some kind of maybe legislation that says if you're like rustic living or rusting campgrounds and stuff like that, they'll be exempt from these codes, but it might be too late for him for a year or two. So
maybe he could go get a job at a fracking well or something.
He could be a truck driver.
Yeah, he could drive truck.
Yeah.
Could drive truck for the gas industry.
That's not very nice. Anyways, I'm sick and tired of, the government sticking their ass in everybody's business.
That's how things seem to be going, though. I mean, every little part of your life is controlled by the government. I mean, there's nothing that you can think of that you use on a day-to-day basis that isn't regulated at some level, right? I mean,
I know.
At the highest level because of the whole interstate commerce crap.
That's really the bug that's in the system and has to be gotten rid of.
Fixed, reformed, I think, because
whatever.
I mean, interstate commerce. I mean, it's been around for a while, and it needs to be regulated by somebody, right? If you're going to regulate things,
re-regulate the regulators.
Yeah, who's going to?
I don't know. But speaking of that, I mean, this irritated the hell out of me too. This poor guy in Delaware, one of those great.
It is irritating.
Progressive states. What?
Delaware.
What about it?
It's irritating.
Just the whole state?
Just all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but...
I would.
Anyways, this poor guy is, at work, and he gets a text from his mom saying, honey, cops are here, and Division of Youth and Family Services are here, and they want to check your guns, and they need you to open the gun safe. And he's like, what? Don't do anything. I'll be right there. Calls up his attorney on the phone, explains what's going on, gets there, hands the phone with the attorney to the first cop he sees and tells them all to get the hell out of his house.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to get into your safe because we had a complaint that you posted a picture online of your, 10 or 12-year-old son holding a gun.
Yeah,
and so, by God, we got to come in to make sure all your guns are legal and secured and they're registered to you and you're not a felon and all this stuff. And he goes, yeah, really? Where's your warrant? We don't need it. And the attorney was talking to the cops, and it was really, I guess, the Division of Youth and Family Services woman.
Sure. And did you? I saw the picture of the kid.
Yeah,
and he looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
finger off the trigger, holding his new.
It's not like it was a baby in a crib with a gun. And even so,
yeah, that wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
really.
I know, but
you just teach the baby muzzle discipline, and that's what matters.
Keep your finger off the trigger. And anyway, she was insistent, we're going to get into your safe, and the cops were trying to intimidate him, and we'll go get a warrant and all that. And he says, good, go get a warrant. And then his lawyer asked the woman from the youth services there for her name. She wouldn't give it. The guy tried to take a picture of her, and she turned her face real fast. She wouldn't give her name, which, just would piss the hell out of me. And it was this little standoff. And finally, they left.
Yeah.
And good for him. A lot of people would have been intimidated and scared, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to
and that's what they do.
Those people work for you. They're not your boss. They're not your master. By God, you have rights, and the more people need to learn about those rights and exercise them, and we're becoming more and more passive as a society. And I think part of it is, the government gives you stuff, so you're nice.
That's exactly what it is. It's all
daddy, you're nice
Santa Claus dependence. Yeah. It's you give me my cell phone and my food for the month.
Right.
So I trust you because you help me survive. I have no other way to do it by myself. So I'm going to let you in my house, let you go through whatever I have.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And now they're in the food business. They're in the cell phone business. They're in the healthcare business.
I saw a little thing posted where it had the FDA says all these things are harmful. It lists all these chemicals. Oh no, it was all these chemicals. It says these are safe. And then they had over here raw milk. This is unsafe.
Yeah.
Well,
it is. If
ridiculous.
it's, if it's not pasteurized, then it's not safe.
Let's not go
Not to mention that humans are really the only things that drink other animals' milk.
Yeah, I'm not
which
a
is
milk
kind of
fan,
weird, right? But
I don't think they should regulate it.
People have been drinking raw milk for years.
Millennia.
And you could measure that. You could measure it in years.
You could if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think you could.
Yeah, but not light years.
Sure, you could.
That's a distance. Looks like Colorado's going down the tubes. Governor signed a new bill on.
Was it signed?
Yeah, he signed it.
Oh, okay.
And it's going into effect, and it's supposed to be more restrictive than even some of the stuff in New York because it goes with the private sales and background checks and charging $10 for the checks and all this crap. So money. Invade your privacy, stomp on your rights. Hopefully it'll challenge. I heard that there is a manufacturer of magazines there, and not reading magazines, but gun magazines, Magpul.
You mean clips?
Yeah, clips, those clips and stuff. And they said, we're packing. They were threatening. I guess they're going to leave the state.
Yeah, I hope they do. Come to Michigan. We're not as good as some other states, but really, come to Michigan. We could use the jobs.
Absolutely, especially a manufacturing job.
The things in Colorado, who would have thought, I've talked about this before, but who would have thought a fairly red state like Colorado would go down this road to restrict citizens' rights, so harshly like this.
And gun rights.
Bam.
Bam. And well, why? What was your reasons?
Well, what it is you have all of these lobbying groups. You have the gay rights side. You have the pro pot people. They all lobby for legislators who agree with them on those very specific issues.
They get elected.
And what happens is, in general, a liberal that's for pot or for gay rights and not just libertarian where they're for freedom, which isn't who got elected in Colorado, obviously.
Right. Because
they
then guns would
also
be in there as
believe in gun control.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this.
They're not liberal in the truest sense.
It's kind of this indirect, liberalization of the state of Colorado, where now they have pot and gay marriage and whatever, and you don't have a right to own a firearm.
And
here
I'm
going
to say it, lots of immigrants, lots of illegal immigrants.
But hey, no, come on now, because the Mexicans,
and they vote,
the Mexicans who come here illegally are conservatives in waiting. Haven't you heard that?
Well, they used to be.
They're just itching to be conservative. All we need to do is give them amnesty. Give them amnesty, and they will vote for conservatives every time. Except for in '86 when that didn't work. Although Well, yeah, maybe that doesn't count because H.W. Bush was not a conservative, but still, I mean, that proves the point. When Reagan did his amnesty crap in 86, Bush in 88 didn't get any more of the Hispanic vote like everybody said he would. And what happened there, which is what's going to happen now with the amnesty stuff, is it was, let's give amnesty, everyone here, let's make them stop worrying that they'll have a place to live tomorrow. Let's make them citizens, and then we'll worry about securing the border later. Trust us, we'll do it later. And it just really never happens. And that's the same thing that's going to happen now, if we're not careful, is we're going to get a bill resetting everybody, saying, oh, yep, you're citizens now, you can vote, or whatever you want to do, and we're never going to secure the border. Rand Paul, he put out a bill, a proposal, that does the opposite. He says, I don't really want to talk about pathway to citizenship and things because that polarizes the country, which is true. He wants to secure the border, fix the problem, plug the hole. And then, sure, after we fix the problem, then we can talk about what to do, with the millions that are already here.
That are here, yeah. Well, I've said this before. The United States does not want to have secure borders with Mexico. They want people to come in.
Sure.
Otherwise, I've told you, we could fix the border thing in 6 months to a year. It would be ugly, but it could be done. But they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Let's head to a break real quick. We have some more stuff coming up after this. Lots to talk about today, but not a lot of time left. So we will be right back. Don't forget to check us out, facebook.com/@oddshow.
Voice of American Conservatism. WRS Digital, Red State Talk Radio.
Hey, Nate.
Yeah, Brian?
You like candy, don't you?
Oh, I love candy.
Well, then you're going to love this site I found. It's Old Time Candy, and they have the kind of candy you ate as a kid.
Oh, really? That's really cool.
Yes, Nate, it is cool. It's the bee's knees and the cat's pajamas. They have candies from the 1920s right up to now. And if you can't decide what you want, you can order various size decade boxes. They have Slowpokes, Black Cows, Wax Lips, Root Beer Barrels, Fruit Stripe Gum, Atomic Fireballs, and the politically incorrect bubblegum cigarettes. They have regional candies you can only get in certain parts of the country, like the Goo Goo Clusters. And they have old-fashioned toys and so much more. If you want a trip to the past, click on the banner on our webpage at www.atoddshow.com. You won't be disappointed.
Real radio for real Americans.
Red State Talk Radio.
Hey, Brian, you like beer.
I do.
And liquor, too.
Oh, I enjoy a wee bit.
And I've definitely seen you drink a glass of wine or two.
Yes? Why are you asking me all this?
Well, I found an excellent online source for all kinds of spirits. It's called Wine Globe. They have a fantastic selection of wines, beers, and liquors, from moderate price selections up to high-end and hard-to-find brands. So, if you're interested in ordering your favorite drink or exotic spirits, they're all located at your fingertips. All you have to do is head over to www.atoddshow.com, click on the Wine Globe banner, and start your search today.
Welcome back. I want to talk a little bit about TSA agents. God, I despise them.
I love talking about the TSA.
The more videos I see of them and the stuff that's going on. The latest one was, did you hear about the Marine that got humiliated?
I did hear about this, and it
active duty
didn't make me very happy.
No,
believe it or not.
Going flying through the airplane, and you think, well, Marine, they can handle themselves and stuff. That's pretty good, and certainly they shouldn't be excluded from security, right? But this guy's in a wheelchair and has no legs, and he has prosthetic legs, and These bastards made him stand up. And he says, I really can't. It's painful. I really can't stand up. No, you're going to have to stand up. And they said, well, I can't. And he says, well, then take your legs off. And they made him take his legs off, searched him. Then they made him stand up anyways. And then they had him in the wrong line, and they made him wheel over to another area. Nobody helped him get up. He had to get up by himself, wand him, search him so they could search his wheelchair. I mean, good. God, and he's an active...
When are the rest of us who aren't spending our lives overseas fighting for freedom
and
here,
losing your
when
legs.
Are we going to stand up and say that that's enough? I mean, how much are we going to take of this, of children, of military veterans, of heroes,
seniors,
of senior citizens, and everybody being harassed by the TSA day in and day out?
And you ask them, how many terrorists have they caught?
0 terrorists.
Yeah, 0.
0.
They don't want to answer that question. It's horrible. And
what the hell?
And we're just taking it. We're just taking it, and we're sick and tired of it.
Yeah, I am. I mean, ugh.
I've been since the beginning.
When it got put in place, it was the wrong thing to do.
The minute I heard the term 2002 or whatever, the term I heard, Homeland Security Department.
Bad.
I said, this is
Bad.
not going to end well. Not going to end well. You need to have an enemy, and the enemy is us and the so-called terrorists. Speaking of terrorists, let's do Lindsey Graham interview. He was at the, CPAC? Or
CPAC, yeah, which confuses me a little bit. CPAC used to be like a conservative gathering of people, and they did okay. I mean, they lightened up this year. They got rid of Chris Christie and whatever. He didn't give a speech there.
He didn't quite make the cut.
No, but Lindsey Graham, I mean, yeah, he was there in the audience, I think. I don't think he spoke.
I don't know.
I don't know for sure either.
All I know is that some young people, which made me feel good, asked some very poignant questions about drones and the ability of the president to kill Americans without a trial.
Senator Graham, why do you think Obama should be judge, jury, and executioner with his deposition matrix?
Oh, I couldn't have. I believe that enemy combatants, American citizens can be enemy combatants.
What about Abdul Rahim al-Awlaki, the 16-year-old innocent American citizen?
I don't know what the facts were, but you do get collateral damage.
Collateral damage?
The person who determines enemy combatant status is not a court, it's the commander-in-chief.
It's one person. Shouldn't there be more oversight?
Shouldn't it be more than one person that gets to decide who lives and dies?
We're at war, and the commander-in-chief, one person sends our soldiers into battle. We don't have a committee of Congress.
What about when it's America?
Well, just listen. I don't care if it's an American citizen or not under the law of war. That doesn't matter. When American citizens helped the Nazis, they were hung in military court.
They had a court.
There will be American citizens recruited by Al-Qaeda. They're looking in our backyard. They're here already. And if an American citizen joins Al-Qaeda, they do so at their own peril. They will go to court. They'll have a hearing about whether or not you're a member of the organization, but we're at war. We have one person that orders our troops into battle. That same person has the authority to determine who the enemy is because we're at war. Thank you. I gotta go.
Senator, you said about the Nazis, but also at that time they got tried with the Nuremberg trial, and they used the same excuse that we're at war and we can do whatever we like.
Well, see, that's the point I'm trying to make. If someone were ordered to kill an innocent American where there's no evidence that they have they're involved in terrorism.
But is the disposition matrix enough?
Please. The person carrying out the order could be prosecuted. In the military, you don't have the Nuremberg defense that I'm carrying out orders. So really, the men and women who pull the trigger on drones and who drop bombs, I know them. I know the pains they go through to prevent collateral damage. We're not the SS. We're a very ethical military. The thought that goes into targeting people is incredible. I know the program. I know the checks and balances. But the difference I guess I have with some is that I believe we're at war, and when you're at war, the commander-in-chief makes those decisions. He makes the decisions who to send into battle, and he makes the decisions of who we're fighting. And I just believe that's the way we have to do it.
That one person should.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, that settles it. We don't have to worry about it anymore because Lindsey Graham says we're not the SS. We're very ethical.
That's what they were saying, I thought. But anyways, we're damn close to the SS. We're getting there every day. This guy doesn't have a clue.
What this doesn't understand is he spent a minute saying that one person makes that decision. The commander-in-chief makes the decision on who to kill. One person makes that decision.
That's frightening. That
and then goes on to say, I know the people who make the decisions and run the drones, and we're very ethical.
Right.
Well, is it that one person that makes the decision?
And they kept talking about having a trial and not having a trial.
A trial.
Yeah. And the evidence and all this crap.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. One person makes a decision on who's killed, but it'll go to trial, he says, to determine whether that person should be killed or not. But one person makes a decision. And he knows the guy's driving the remote control cars. And one person makes a decision.
And they keep using the excuse of, terrorists. I'm not worried about the terrorists. I'm worried about the future. This sets a precedent that's frightening and scary because who makes you a terrorist?
Yeah,
the
it's
president.
That one person that decides on. It's the person who has a kill list in his office. He has an enemies list, and it's ridiculous. We're running out of time, though. We don't have enough time to
get into this
to say all the fun things that I'd like to say about government and their oversight in who can live or die.
Well, we want people to wake up out there. Keep listening. Keep doing the research. Keep looking at what's going on because it's getting very, 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 very frightening.
It is. It is very much. But that's all the time we have. I want to thank you for listening to At Odds.
Bye-bye.